Oh, hey, there you are. It's Chris at Lime Punch Forge. Another video today we're going to do. I'm going to put the screen. I got to stop looking at my monitor. I'm going to like, whoop, push it out of the way. So I'm looking at you. That's better. There you are. I see you. So what I'm going to do today is do a little upgrade on my bench. And the reason for this is that a good friend of mine, Gabby, over in Hawaii, sent me some fun stuff. So let me show you here. We got a GRS ball vise and way too heavy for me, and a stand for it. So what we have here is this guy goes onto one of the GRS bench plates and whoop, goes right into your bench pin and all that. So I currently do not have a GRS bench pin or work system. Love to try one out. Love to try one of the ring holder ones. I don't have one of those. I just have an old, just kind of cheap bench pin. I figured it was, if I have that stuff here, I might as well try and upgrade my bench to work with that. So my friends over in A&A, Danny, sent him an order for some GRS parts. A couple days later, GRS parts are here, and now I'm going to do a video. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I've got some fun stuff to show you with my bench I may not have talked about before. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. Before I remove my bench from its resting spot here, I want to talk a little bit about it and why I did it this way. So zoom out again. That's the wrong way. What I have is a bench top, standard desk here, and a so the desk itself is pretty standard height. You sit underneath it just fine. But I wanted my bench pin and my workstation to be a little bit higher, so I ended up creating this very, very sturdy solid oak frame that is held on by clamps. And is hollow, so I have a place to put stuff underneath here. And holding it there allows me to take this off and away, and then use a standard size bench top for other things. So this adds some versatility to the way that I work. If you're curious how it works, I love it. It's great. It moves out of the way. I can use a full tabletop, regular height, and we're good to go. So what I'm going to be doing first is removing, I'll probably keep this guy here. I'll remove this one, and then we'll go from there on how we're going to attach some of these other parts. First one is going to be this guy, which is our plate. And the most important thing about the plate is I want to make sure that the top of the plate is flush with the top of my bench. So right now, if I were to put this down, I've got a lip. I've got two lips. Right here. This lip all the way around is a higher height than the surface of my bench. I want my bench pin surface to be the same height as my bench pin plate. So we're going to be doing some woodworking today. We're going to be using a router. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Excuse me. But before that, we're going to go ahead and remove what we need to remove from here. We'll do our layout marking, and then yeah, we'll do some woodwork. I've got my other bench pin removed. I'm going to keep this one here for now, just because I don't want to take it off. So if you look at the back of the plate, you've got a rounded kind of radius here. So this little fillet is going to push straight up into the edge of this wood, and if I let go, it pops back. So I don't necessarily want that. So what I'll end up doing is not only routing out the top of it, but I'll route out a channel on this side too, so it sits a bit flush there. Now before I do that, I want to take a look at my mounting stuff and see, right here I have some holes that I'm going to need to mount these guys onto, and the mounting plates, let's see, let's find out together. Alright, so it looks like if I wanted to, I could mount a nut on the back side of this plate. So it'll go through my the angle plate here, the dovetail plate, just like that, and on the back side of this plate would be a nut. And I haven't decided if I want to do that, because if I do that, I need to route out clearance on this back side so that I can push that up in. Now the plate itself comes with these screws that align with the holes that are here, so I can go straight into my wood. These appear to be sheetrock screws. They don't appear to be wood screws. So if I do use those screws, I'm going to need to drill pilot holes in here in order for these guys not to break off. So I may do that, or I may upgrade the screws with some of the stock that I have. So when it comes to that, we'll figure it out. But first, what I'm going to need to do is figure out where exactly I need to lay out my plate and where we're going to do our routing. So let me put these screws all away, and what I'm going to do is kind of align my plate where I want it to be. So now I'm going to lay out a pencil mark line. Whoop. Now if you wanted to, you could have this completely where it is now. So you just do your thing, mount it where it's at, good to go, not a problem. This is just a different way of mounting it if you have the ability and the tools to route out your space. I like the idea of routing it out because I want a smooth surface on your bench. Yeah, there are other ways and other people who do it completely different. Different, not wrong, just different. So now that I have my layout lines, I'm going to actually go over it in a Sharpie, because I'm going to be cutting with a router and I want to be able to see my lines. Now that I have that, I'm going to need to find my router bits and take you guys outside with me so we have a clean space to do all of this fun routing. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. Alright, so we are in a place a little bit more sawdust friendly, and I have a router. Currently not plugged in, because I don't want to plug it in while I'm messing with the business end. That's not a good thing. So what I have in it is a flush cutting bit that will provide a flat bottom and square corners. So what it's going to do is route out that area for me to place the bracket, that plate, into my bench so that I can use it and have it nice and flush along the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do a setup for that. One of the most important parts of that is depth of cut. So I did a measurement with a rule and found out that the bracket itself is about 5 millimeters deep. So real quick, I said rule and not ruler. The difference: a rule has the measurement starting at the end of the piece of metal that is the rule. A ruler starts inset, so you have to align, and there's some fudge room for that. So if you're going to measure like this, use a caliper and or use a rule. Okay, we have our setup here. The rails on the side here are to act as a guide so that when I'm routing in a straight line, and this one back here is a stop. So I've adjusted the router to the proper depth, and the sides of it are equally spaced so that it rides right in that area, and I'll get a nice clean cut. When I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and route this side here, and then I'm going to be adding some clamps down here to hold it in place while I'm doing my routing. It is still unplugged, obviously a good idea, and also ears and eyes are extremely important when using power tools. Remember, safety third. Alright, so I have some playroom, which is good because I want to add some foam down here. See if I can find it. Add some of this stuff, and it should allow for a nice fit once it's down in there. So I'll go ahead and cut some of this to fit both sides around that, and then we'll attach it down. I'll come around here. Place that foam right underneath it, and then I'm just going to go around and trim. So now this should fit right nice in there. Alright, here I am at the bench. I don't have this clamp down yet. I'm going to clamp it down with probably one C-clamp. That way I can work on it without it moving out of the way. So I have my black matting down here. This doesn't serve any other purpose other than I like sticking it down just for the extra padding. And then it brings it up so that I am nice and flush with that side there. So I'm going to center this in the slot that I routed out. It's not perfect on any of the three sides. I wanted to make sure I had some wiggle room, and I cut too much back here. So, sue me. First thing I want to do is pre-drill one of these holes. And I'm going to be doing that because I don't want to break off one of my screws as I'm drilling into the hardwood, because this is oak. Okay, first screw, only one pre-drill so far, just that one I showed, and I'm going to screw this in. Good. Now that I have that one down, I'm going to pre-drill one more on the opposing side, and then I'll show you what next. Pre-drilling is going to remove a slight bit of material because you're using a drill bit smaller than the diameter of the screw, and it's going to take less stress off the wood and the screw by removing that middle material. Then you have perfect amount of engagement on the threads of the screw. That's not the right screw. That's not the right screw. Where's the right screw? You're not the screw I'm looking for. Okay, that pulled down nice and tight. And you saw that, I don't know if you saw it on camera or not, but that padding actually brought it down just slightly. So I like that. So now that we have opposing sides screwed in and secure, I'm going to pre-drill the rest of the holes, because then I don't need to worry about aligning the rest of the bracket with holes if I pre-drill them all at the same time. And one more. Okay, that bracket is in there and it's nice and tight. Now here comes, I'm going to save this stuff for other projects because can't have enough hardware sitting around. Clean that up out of the way. Now the next part we're going to need to do is add our dovetail bracket. Here's where my complaint comes in. We spend some money on GRS equipment, right? Am I right? Yes. So that's supposed to screw into the wood just like that. And the screws they've provided, these are drywall screws. They will have a tendency of breaking off in wood, and they're not as strong as they could be. So I say if we're going to be spending money on good products, we need good attachment. We need good hardware. So what I'm going to do is replace their screws with some construction screws of my own, because I'm not happy with the quality of those. Alright, so these two bottom holes are past, and they're not actually next to wood, so I'm not going to worry about those two. But since this is nice and secure and in place, I'm going to pre-drill all four. Okay, now here's a little thing about screws. These are the screws that came with the GRS. This is a construction screw. This is a construction screw. You can tell the threads on these are a little bit more aggressive, and the center of the screw itself is thicker. That's going to provide more durability. Also, the heads down here have a thicker profile than the ones down here. This, being a drywall screw, has a very thin profile because it's made to be spackled over. So, come on, GRS. Add some good screws. We're paying for it. So the profile, the dovetail, goes from shallow to wide. And we're going to go ahead and just put those in by hand. And we're going to go ahead and screw those in. Okay, there's one. And I'm going to go opposing again. Two. Three. Four. Okay, everything is nice and flush. And now for the moment of truth. Okay, that fits. I need to tighten these a little bit. The flex you're seeing is from just that one C-clamp on there, but that's fine. And then got our bench pin. Like that. I don't know if this works. You have to turn your pin. No, you have to turn your pin upside down, because I typically use the flat side more than I do the tapered side, so I'll have to flip that, which is fine, not a big deal. There you go. We flipped it. And then I can modify the bench pin to my standards once I'm ready. So yeah, I'm not sure about some of that yet, but hey, you know what? We'll give it a chance. We'll give it a try. This is nice and flush, what I like. Yeah, that flex is in the piece. But you know what? We'll tighten some stuff up. We'll try to get that slop out, and we'll see what's happening. So thank you guys for watching, and that is the way I mount a GRS plate. I'll probably drop this down one too. I want it a little bit lower for engraving. I want to send a shout out real quick to a couple people. First of all, Gabby from Hawaii, thank you for this and the vise. You're awesome, you're amazing. Thank you so much for watching and being a fan of the channel. Also, Danny at A&A, thank you so much for making sure I got all these parts on time. And then always, Pepetools. You guys are amazing. I appreciate everything you do for me, and I know everyone else does as well. You guys have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you soon.